job training, right? So Yada, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with so many things that Belle said just now. I think that the most difficult thing for me to do is to grow faster. If the company is growing 10 times a year, we have to grow ourselves like 50 times a year, because how can you lead the company if the company is growing faster than you? So I would say that's the hardest, and as Belle said, there's nobody who's going to teach you how to learn faster. There's nobody also going to tell you, this is where you're missing. You have to figure that out for yourself. For me, I think what I try to do is to find mentors, people who, I think we're lucky because there were so many startups before us that we can learn from, and they are really very willing to give back because in their days, maybe they did not have someone to teach them the things that they know now. So I try to find mentors, ask them about, they cannot give you solutions, but they can tell you what they did and whether it worked or it didn't. And you try to learn from their experience so that you don't repeat it again. I think that it's not a CEO class, but it's probably the closest thing you can ever get to it because everybody is, different CEOs are different. But I think that would be the most important skill I have had to learn, which is how do I make sure that I grow myself faster than the company is growing.
Thank you, Yada. So let me turn to this side and start with Sylvia. How about you? What skills did you have to develop and learn along the way of being the CEO?
I think that as a leader, you have three essential things to learn. One is IQ, so anything technical that has to do with the job. Second is EQ, so how to manage people. And the third thing that I think comes into play recently, which I think is becoming increasingly more important, which is DQ, diversity quotient. I think that nowadays, especially after COVID, especially in my industry, and I'm sure you all would relate, the answer lies in diversity, creativity, and thinking outside of the box, and how to activate parts of even our brain, our personality, and parts of our teams that were not existing before, because we have to come up with solutions that, to face problems that we never had before this. So I think for me, I would think diversity would be the key thing I'm trying to push and trying to force upon myself and everyone else in terms of accelerating growth and learning.
Thank you, Sylvia. And so, I'm sorry. So Sylvia, I assume that you went through the School of Hard Knocks, and I'm not sure you had many mentors along the way. So how did you develop your skills? And I'm sorry, Carla, how did you develop your skills? They're looking at me like, how did you develop your skills, and how did you find mentors to help you along the way?
I think that's the funny part of the story, because my family was the problem, but the people I met along the way, they were just amazing. I'm super blessed. So I left home when I was 14 years old. I have my first entrepreneurship, and the big company that I have right now, I was an investor of it. I didn't start it as a CEO position. There were 5 men as the directors, and I was the 6th, and I was the only woman. The thing is that in the military, you learn how to cope with men. Yes or yes.
Yes.
There's
Yes
no
or
other
yes.
way. Actually, my personality is more as a man. Amazing. And I get along so good with men because I respect them and I respect myself. So that makes them respect me. I've never had a problem with a man because if they want to fight over power, I will just let them. It's like, have your moment. Have it. Like, absolutely. I'll clap. I'll even clap for you, So I'm not trying to win them because they're not my competition. My competition, it's global. It's getting my company global. So if one man comes and tells me, like, this is the way, it's like, no, it better be that way, because I'm going to listen to you. And I've never fight over power, so I have a lot of men in my back, and they're such a great team with me. So my mentors have been all my partners, all the CEOs that I've met, because I'm 26. When I got to the CEO of my actual company, I was 21. And it was the first and biggest company of parking lot machines manufacturing in Mexico. So they were like, what is this kid gonna do? Like, she's crazy. What is she gonna do? And I was like, I don't know, you tell me. You were here before. I'm not gonna do anything weird, no? I'm just gonna learn, sit and learn and watch you get killed to each other. And they were so nice to me because I approach every CEO I've met. Actually, I'm here because of Monica Loaiza, that she's in another panel. But every CEO I've met, I had the guts to tell them, like, I'm new at this, please teach me. And when people is above you and in such an inspirational level, they're willing to teach you, but you have to ask them. It's not mandatory for them to pull you. You have to kind of give their hand and tell them, like, I need this from you, exactly this from you. And I have thousands of mentors. I couldn't count them.
That's so important. You know, there have been many books written on women don't ask. And certainly sometimes when you're young, you're afraid to ask because you feel like you might expose yourself. But that's a great thing to learn. I mean, my mother used to tell me the only stupid question is the one you don't ask, because how are you going to do it if you don't understand it, right? So
I love what you're
perfect
saying.
example of that. Perfect example of that. Speaking of males, and you guys didn't have this question, how diverse is your team? And do you consider diversity when you hire and put together your team?
I think that I'm very lucky and fortunate to be in the position where I have decision-making power on how things are done in the company, because I think representation at this level is also important. So we're two-founder company. My co-founder is a male, and then it's me. So we have decision-making to make a difference there. Our executive team is half female, half male, because I think diversity matters. In teams that are more technical, engineering, and all of that, I think we still can do better, but we're trying. I think a couple of things that we have been doing that is helpful is to recognize, for me, to recognize what are some of the biases that women are inclined to have and try to ensure them that it's okay. For example, I had so many women come to me and ask me if it's okay for them to take 2 hours off every day in the middle of the afternoon to go send their kids to school. Is it okay I'm pregnant, I'm gonna take maternity leave, which is paid for many months? Is it okay if I join you now for 4 months and I'm gonna take maternity leave? And it's my job to tell them that it's okay. We are judged by our output, not your input. I don't mind what hour of the day you wanna work, as long as you can manage your team and manage your own time. We're also working from anywhere, so we don't come to the office anymore, so everything is entirely up to your own time. And I feel that sometimes women needs a little bit more convincing because of what they have been through in the past and what the society may have put on you. So I also had to put together a group of women in our company who have young children to go talk to these people and tell them how they do things here and how it's actually gonna be sustainable. So I think we still have a lot of room to improve, but those are some of the few things that we try to do.
Wonderful. Would anybody else like to weigh in on diversity or your teams?
I think I'm a little biased on this because we've gone through this whole review with the EDGE certificate, and my take on this has always been, I care about gender equality, but it's not enough until we put it on paper. So the way I would urge for everyone, even if you don't go out to get a certificate to verify your company, whether it's gender diverse, it's worth it, like what Mia shared in the previous session, to go through the criteria of diversity and understand that there's a whole list of them. From the way you recruit someone, your interview panel has to be men and women inside the interview panel. When you select people to get promoted, has to be one successor man, one successor woman, and every single level of your company across the board, not just the board member, but every single layer of your company, there should be a balance between men and women. And sometimes I make a point of walking into a meeting, any random meeting in the company, and I would ask, where are the men? Or where are the women? Because I don't want to start a meeting until I see enough representation, even in smaller meetings. Because what my father taught me earlier in life is that hang out with boys, because otherwise you're missing 50% of the information. So this is what I urge, and I tell also female, female members or male members, hang out with the other sex, because otherwise you're missing the data, and you're not a good business person if you're missing the data. So that's how I approach it.
Anyone else like to weigh in? How many of you have offices, and what percentage of your workers have to come into the office versus working remote?
Okay. Yeah, we have offices, we have a factory. In my case, I don't know if it's quite different from a startup, but it is, because my thing, it's a factory, so I can't manufacture an equipment through Zoom. No, yeah, mostly I have to have like 90% of my workers every day in the factory, otherwise I won't have a product. The thing is that when I came to be a CEO, I was 21, and I was the youngest. I'm still the youngest of my company, and there were no women, just me. So it was super weird, and my fellows used to tell me like, okay, go and grab an assistant, and she can be a woman. And I was like, okay, why don't I have an assistant that is a man, and we should change some other works. But in my case, I've tried like to involve more women, but it's a super heavy lift work. So I've tried to open even with better payments, but no women are interested. I have like 20 women that are directly in factory, and that's their job, that's what they chose, and they're not that happy. Eventually, they always tell me like, I want to see it. I want to be in an office, and it's like, okay, that's your choice. I mean, I gave you the contract, you can do whatever you want with it. But it's not as easy, at least not in my country. The labor work, it's mostly for men. Women don't like to take that position.
But it's available if they like to, so
It's super
it's a
available.
choice.
Actually, if someone likes to go to Mexico, I'm super available. But yeah, women don't want it. So in my case, it's not for the lack of opportunity.
Right.
In my case, it's they literally don't want it. So I take women for a director position.
So speaking about opportunities for the students in the audience, what type of skills are you looking to hire, or do you look to hire?
Okay, for me, I think ability to learn, right, is very important. And the second one is about the mindset, right? For startup, we have to grow so fast, right? And the mentality is something like you have to test out, experiment every day, right? And you have to accept the failure, right? You can define what is the success and what is the failure, because no success and failure, it's just what works and what doesn't work, right? And you have to iterate and learn new things every day. So that's a mentality that we are looking for.
So being agile, building fast, learning fast, and if you fail, pick it up and go in a different direction. Anybody else want to weigh in on what kind of skills you're looking for the students in the audience?
Okay. I have two. First of all, every time I interview someone new, I need them to be smarter than me. I remember this one time that I hired this designer, and he was telling me like, yeah, I can do this and I can do that, and I was like, okay, cool. So I opened this program and I did what he said he could do for me. And I said to him like, if you can't do this better than I do, and that's not my field, I don't need you. I need you to explode my